Welcome, everyone. My name is Bob Burns, Mayor of the City of Marshall. I'm going to start out. We're going to do a dedication. This is a multi-dedication and also kind of an intro to the 150th, all the events. So Mr. Jim Tate asked me to keep my comments brief here this morning, so I will do that. Let me start by just introducing a number of people. First off, other members of the City Council that are here, Councilmember John DeCramer, Amanda Schroeder, why don't you raise your hand, who newly elected member of Marshall City Council, will have her first meeting this coming Tuesday. So Amanda, John, and I have been around, for a long time, so you have many, many meetings yet to go. Also want to recognize a number of members of the 150th committee. Some of those have shirts on that are matching, similar to what Nicole has on here. Some of those members don't. At the risk of missing someone in doing introductions, I'm not going to individually recognize all the members of the committee, but please know that they've been meeting for over a year and really have put a lot of heart and soul and dedication into all of the events, including what we're going to be talking about today. Let me single out one member, though, Amanda Beckler, who Nicole will be talking about. Amanda secured the grant and was worked closely with the administration of the grant and the artist, who you'll meet in a bit here, for the M. And then one other person I want to recognize, who people know, Eric Luther, manager of Tallgrass Liquor. And I recognize Eric specifically because one of the things that we're going to be talking about this morning is the replacement of all of the trails. And in 2020, under Eric's management and leadership, Tallgrass Liquor had an incredible year. And so these trails were actually paid for with unbudgeted profit that came from that. Let me also recognize the one other person, Jared Ortman. Jared, if you want to raise your hand. Jared is this morning representing Ben Wright Fabrication. His boss, the owner, Billy Martins, is out of town today, but Jared is really the artist, the right-hand man, and really one of the people that had a lot of design into the M that went behind here. So we really are blessed in this community that we have talented people like those that are at Ben Wright Fabrication. And then finally, let me recognize Sharon Hansen, our city administrator, who also kind of worried about all of the details that go into here. So, and then lastly, I'd recognize Marshall Municipal Utilities, because in addition to the trails that were paid for with proceeds from Tallgrass Liquor, Marshall Municipal Utilities also provided not only the financial resources, but also the installation of all the lights that go around. In fact, the last of the bollards were just installed, John, it was yesterday, I believe. So, they're doing it now. They came in yesterday and they're installing it right now. So not only are the trails replaced, but also they'll be lit, and the electricity will be around the park. So when there's events like Light Up the Night, there won't be all these extension cords all over. And so that will actually make that a lot easier to do, and all those other events that are happening here. So with that, this is the dedication of the M, the dedication of the trails. And so I'm going to turn the microphone over to several other people. And the first to speak will be Nicole DeBoer. I'll come back to Nicole in just a second. After Nicole, then I believe you're going to introduce the artist. And then after that, Preston Stentrud will say a few words, and I think I've covered everyone. So if I could ask Nicole to come forward. Nicole has served as my co-chair of the 150th committee, and it has really been a very grounded, stabilizing influence on all the planning that has gone into this. So, Nicole?
Thank you, Mayor Bob. Hi, everybody. I am so honored and have been excited for the last year plus to help out with this 150th anniversary celebration and all of the planning that's gone into it. Of course, it's not like the co-chairs do the large part of the work. Actually, it's the opposite. The rest of the committee, which probably consisted of 35 people, 30 people, I got a nod on 30, who came from all different types of organizations. Were willing to spend time every month making plans, raising eyebrows about, do you really think we could accomplish that? And then somebody stepping up and saying, yes, I think we can. I think I could, I know somebody who knows somebody, and I think we can do that. So please plan to stick around for the whole weekend, attend as many events as you can. But I'm really here to spend the next 30 seconds talking about this awesome public art piece. I represent and work for the Southwest Minnesota Arts Council, which serves 18 counties. We are an arts council that receives funds from the state of Minnesota, from the McKnight Foundation, from U.S. Bank, and from members and donations from people like you. And we turn that money around, and we're charged, especially by the state of Minnesota, to facilitate grant processes, specifically for arts projects. And public art is huge because it doesn't just impact one artist, it impacts communities, it impacts tourism, it drives economy, because if people are coming to town to see this specifically, they're spending money at nearby restaurants and hotels and shopping and giving back in our community. So we think public art is huge, and that's why our biggest grant, which uses Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, awards up to $20,000 in a grant that would produce something like this. And so the majority of the dollars spent on this came from a grant that was in a circular fashion through the state legislature, but funded by your taxes. So thank you for this. Amanda Beckler was instrumental in writing the grant on behalf of the city of Marshall. So if you are a government entity, a tribal nation, an individual artist, or a nonprofit organization, you're welcome to apply for arts grants that would go toward art projects like this. Amanda spearheaded that grant writing process, successfully was evaluated and scored by panelists, and decided that the city of Marshall would be awarded the $20,000. And then we went to town on hiring Tammy Eastfeld, who lives in Granite Falls, but has spent virtually every day this summer here in Marshall, working with community members. How many sessions? She maybe will talk about how many sessions she held here, but it was months of being here in Marshall. I know my family and myself worked on it probably 4 or 5 times, gluing little tiny pieces of mosaic tile to sheets, and then the sheets were transferred to this awesome Bend-Right fabrication piece. I'd like to stop talking, because I'm pretty good at that, and bring up Tammy and have her talk a little bit more about her process and celebrate her as an artist, because this is not the only kind of work she does. She paints, she works with youth, she's a teacher in YME, and as an art teacher at YME, of course, and does so many other mediums. So let's give a round of applause to Tammy.
Thank you, Nicole. What a pleasure it's been to be here and be part of this project. Amanda first contacted me about a year ago, maybe just a little bit, I think maybe it was beginning of October, about this project, and we've been working on it ever since. And it kind of gets a life of its own and a flavor from the community. I had the design well drawn out back probably, February, March, and then made to scale and then brought for many different sessions. So we had youth groups that came in, we had different clubs that came through, we had all kinds of groups that went through starting in June. We went to the little shelter, the big shelter, then finally to the big tent. And thank you so much for Parks and Rec for setting up all of those tables and tents and moving things around and making sure we had what we needed to make it possible. But really, I want to thank the community for really joining together and making this so successful. It was so fun to get to meet so many of you. It feels like I now have a whole new family, because it kind of felt like instead of going to a summer lake home, this was my summer place, coming here to this park in particular. And it's such a beautiful park, and with all the trails and everything you have added here, it's just like it just keeps getting better. And it's just really been a pleasure to be part of that. And you look at all the little pieces, and, you know, sometimes like it's just chaos. And I think it's the same thing when you're working with art and you're working with community. You don't always know the full direction that you're going with it, but if you keep plugging away and you keep working together, you'll get something beautiful in the end. So I call it the Minnesota, or the Marshall M is what I call it. And I think that's probably a name that most people can recognize. Kind of like this shirt, it's a little hard to figure out how to say something, so let's just keep it simple. But again, my fingers are a little crowded right now. It was a push to the very end, and Amanda pulled a crew together to kind of help finish it up at 11 o'clock last night, and we were still touching up this morning, so it's pretty dang fresh. But no, again, thank you to this lovely community, and it was really an awesome to be part of it. And I think I'm handing this over to Preston, who is the one that's been making sure that we had everything that we needed.
All right, well, between Mayor and Nicole and Tammy, they hit on a lot of things I was going to hit on, but I just want to thank you guys for coming. I'm kind of wearing two hats here, the park superintendent for the city of Marshall. So not only do we get to enjoy all these new amenities we're putting into the park, but also served on the 150th committee, and as well as the fundraising committee with Mark Calath, Harry, and Norma Rasky to help offset what wasn't funded by the grant to make this possible. I would also like to thank Amanda and Tammy on the M, and Bendrite, and then also Monty's Electric, because as of tonight, the M will be lit up at night that you'll be able to see from Highway 23 too. So it'll have a different look at night as it does today too in the sun. So as far as the trail dedication too, I'd like to thank A&C Excavation and Hiskin Concrete. The way the spring started out with all the rain, it didn't look too promising that we were going to get this done. But in the last couple of weeks, it's all good to go. We've had tons of compliments. And then MMU adding all the lighting around the trails. And like Mayor mentioned, just finishing up the bollards today. And then it'll also make it a lot more user-friendly come special events like Light Up the Night, with all the light poles having outlets in them, and the top lights actually, we kind of went the extra step. The top lights will turn off and the plugins will turn on, and they'll switch back and forth on a timer throughout the whole park. So big thanks to MMU for accomplishing that, and everybody else that was involved, and just thank you for coming, and enjoy the 150th festivities over the weekend.
So two other things to do yet. One is, let me also recognize Harry Weilage, who's here. Where is Harry? There he is in the back. So this park, Independence Park, it was, Harry, it was 34 years ago that this park transitioned from 51-acre park to Independence Park, with the major feature being the water retention area that was also expanded in this project. So 33 years ago, then the original paths were put in, and those of you that, we have some neighbors here, people that walk on those paths, knew that they had served their useful life, and the concrete ones are really designed that they'll last for the next 50 years. So when we have then the 200th anniversary of Marshall, and I don't expect to be mayor at that point, but when we do have that, we'll maybe replace the trails at that time. So They should last that long. With that, let me ask Brad Gruhat and members of the chamber to come forward, and they have the official ribbon and the big scissors for the ribbon cutting. And as they're doing that, once again, this is going to be a week and a weekend to celebrate Sounds of Summer, 150th. Thank you all for being here, and have a really, really fun week and weekend.